Another notification flashes on your screen. The market's down 800 points. You pull up your banking app, and there's that familiar, gut-sinking feeling as your balance shrinks. Again. You've seen the headlines about economic uncertainty, heard the whispers of a recession, and felt the very real anxiety of watching your money feel less and less secure. What if you lost your job? What if a medical emergency hit? What if this crisis is the one that finally pushes you over the edge? This isn't just some hypothetical fear, is it? For millions, it's a constant, nagging reality. The sense that no matter how hard you work, you're always just one bad month away from disaster. That kind of stress is relentless. It messes with your sleep, your health, your relationships. You're trying to stay afloat, but every time you make progress, another wave seems to hit. But what if it didn't have to be this way? What if there was a blueprint, a complete, step-by-step guide, to take you from financial fear to unshakable stability? A system that could shield your finances from any storm. This isn't about getting rich quick or trying to time the market. It's about building a fortress around your money, one brick at a time. Today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to give you a framework for true resilience, so by the end of this, you won't just have a plan, you'll have peace of mind. Imagine you lose your job tomorrow. The bills start piling up, the market is tanking, and panic sets in. What if I told you 3 simple moves could crisis-proof your finances, starting right now? That's what we're here for. We're going to lay out the exact budget, savings, debt, and investment plan designed to be recession-proof for 2026 and beyond. Stick around, because this is the complete blueprint to protect your money, no matter what. Before you can build a fortress, you have to survey the land. Most people skip this step because they're afraid of what they'll find. But here's the truth, ignorance isn't bliss, it's a liability. To crisis-proof your finances, you need radical honesty. You need a full, unfiltered financial autopsy. This is the absolute foundation. First up, calculate your net worth. This isn't a vanity metric, it's the ultimate scorecard of your financial life. It's all your assets, the cash in your accounts, your investments, home equity, even your car's resale value, minus all your liabilities, the mortgage, car loan, student debt, and of course, credit card balances. Lay it all out on a simple spreadsheet. The number you end up with, positive or negative, isn't a judgment. It's just your starting line. Next, you need to become a detective of your own spending. I mean tracking every single dollar for at least 1 month. Use an app, your bank's tool, or a notebook, but don't miss a penny. This isn't about feeling guilty over a morning coffee, it's about finding the silent leaks in your financial ship. We usually talk about fixed expenses, rent, car payments, and variable expenses, groceries, gas, fun. But for crisis proofing, we need a third category, adjustability speed. How fast can you kill an expense? Your Netflix subscription? Gone in 30 seconds. That's high speed. Your car lease? That's low speed, you're locked in. Thinking this way gives you an instant battle plan for what to cut first when a crisis hits. You'll be shocked at what you find. People often discover they're bleeding hundreds a month on subscriptions they forgot they even had. This isn't about deprivation, it's about control. Then, we confront the beast, your debt. Create a debt inventory. For every single loan, credit cards, personal loans, student debt, list who you owe, the total balance, the minimum payment, and the most important number, the interest rate, APR. High interest debt is a financial cancer. It grows aggressively and can spiral out of control when things get tight. Knowing its exact size and shape is non-negotiable. Finally, look at the liquidity of your assets. Fancy term, simple idea, how quickly can you turn something you own into cash without losing a ton of value? Cash in your savings account is super liquid. Stocks are pretty liquid, though you might have to sell at a loss. Your house is highly illiquid, you can't sell it overnight to cover an emergency. In a crisis, cash is king. Having assets is great, but having accessible cash is what keeps the lights on. This assessment is your map. It shows you exactly where you are, the terrain, and the obstacles ahead. Don't skip it. Take a weekend, grab your statements, and get it done. Once you have this clarity, you're no longer operating out of fear. You're operating from a place of power. If the assessment is your map, the emergency fund is your shield. It's the single most important tool for weathering a storm. An emergency fund isn't an investment, it's insurance. It's a cash buffer ready to absorb the shocks life inevitably throws at you: a job loss, a blown transmission, a medical bill. Without it, these small problems become mountains, forcing you into high-interest debt just to get by. So, how much do you need? The classic rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months' worth of essential living expenses. Look at your budget. What are your bare-bones monthly costs? Housing, utilities, food, transport, insurance, the absolute must-haves. Multiply that number by 3 to 6. If your essentials are $4,000 a month, your target is $12,000 to $24,000. If you're a freelancer or have an unstable income, aiming for the high end, maybe even 8 months, is a smart move. That number can feel huge, even impossible. But you don't get there in a day. If you have zero saved, your first goal is simple: get a $1,000 starter fund. That small cushion is a psychological game changer. It's the first wall between you and panic. Where do you keep this cash? In a separate, high-yield savings account, HYSA. Keeping it separate is key to stop you from dipping into it for a pizza night. And a high-yield account is non-negotiable. It pays you way more interest than a traditional account, helping your money fight back against inflation while it's on standby. Now, how do you actually build it? You don't find the money, you make the money. Here are 5 ways to do it. First, automate your savings. This is the golden rule. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking to your HISA for the day you get paid. Start small if you have to, $25 a paycheck works. You're paying yourself first, treating your savings like a bill you can't miss. Second, get ruthless with non-essential spending until that fund is built. Remember that high-speed adjustability list? Cancel news subscriptions, cook at home instead of getting takeout, and embrace generic brands. This can free up hundreds a month to rocket fuel your savings. Third, actively boost your income. This doesn't have to mean a second job. Think side hustles, freelance work using a skill you already have, selling stuff you don't need, or grabbing extra hours at work. For now, every extra dollar has one mission: the emergency fund. Fourth, strategize your windfalls. A windfall is any surprise cash, a tax refund, a bonus, a gift. It's tempting to see it as fun money, but right now, it's reinforcement material. Make a rule: at least 50% of any windfall goes straight to the emergency fund until it's full. Finally, change your mindset. Building this fund isn't a punishment, it's an act of empowerment. Every dollar you save is a piece of freedom you're buying back. It's the freedom to leave a toxic job, handle a crisis without spiraling into debt, and the freedom that comes with real security. This fund is your declaration that you will not be a victim of circumstance. With your emergency fund started, it's time to go on offense. High-interest debt is like an anchor in a storm, weighing you down and killing your flexibility. Getting rid of it isn't just about ditching the payments, it's about reclaiming the huge chunk of your income that interest is eating alive. Let's go back to your debt inventory. You have your list of debts and their interest rates. Now it's time to pick your weapon. There are 2 proven strategies: the debt avalanche and the debt snowball. The debt avalanche is the most efficient. You make minimum payments on all your debts, but you throw every extra dollar you have at the one with the highest interest rate, no matter the balance. Once it's gone, you roll all that money onto the debt with the next highest rate. This method saves you the most money and interest over time. It's for the person who runs on logic and spreadsheets. The debt snowball is psychologically powerful. Here, you make minimum payments on everything, but you focus all your extra cash on the debt with the smallest balance, ignoring the interest rate. When you wipe out that first small debt, you get a quick, motivating win. You then roll that payment into the next smallest debt, creating a snowball of momentum. For many, those early wins are the fuel they need to finish the race. So which is better? The one you'll actually stick with. Pick the one that lights a fire under you. You can also add a few other tactics to your arsenal. First, negotiate. Call your credit card companies and ask for a lower interest rate. Be polite, be firm, and mention you're a good customer trying to pay down your balance. The worst they can say is no, and you'd be surprised how often they say yes. Another tool is a 0% APR balance transfer card. This lets you move a high interest balance to a new card and pay it off for 12 to 21 months without any new interest. But this requires discipline. You have to have a plan to kill the balance before the 0% period ends, or you'll get slammed with a high rate. For those juggling multiple debts, a debt consolidation loan can be a good option. You take out one new loan at a lower interest rate to pay off all your other high interest debts. This simplifies your life with one payment and can save you a bundle on interest. But it only works if you get a much lower rate and you stop creating new debt. And that's the final, crucial point: you have to stop the bleeding. You can't get out of a hole if you're still digging. Switch to cash for a while. For big, predictable costs like holiday gifts or new tires, use sinking funds, just a separate savings bucket for a specific goal. Saving a little each month lets you pay cash instead of reaching for the credit card. This proactive thinking is a hallmark of a crisis-proof life. A budget is the most misunderstood tool in finance. People think it's a straitjacket designed to make life miserable. That's totally backward. A budget isn't about restriction, it's about intention. It's a plan that gives every dollar you earn a specific job, making sure your money is working for you, not against you. A good budget is your command center. There are a few great methods out there, so you can pick what fits your personality. The 50/30/20 rule is a popular starting point. It's simple: 50% of your after-tax income goes to needs like housing, food, and transport. 30% goes to wants: dining out, hobbies, entertainment. And the final 20% is for savings and debt repayment. That 20% is your powerhouse category, the fuel for your emergency fund, debt attack, and retirement. If that feels like too much tracking, try the 80/20 budget, or the pay yourself first method. The moment you get paid, you automatically move 20% of your income to savings and investments. The other 80% is yours to live on for the rest of the month. It prioritizes your future and keeps things simple. For the detail-oriented person who wants total control, there's the zero-based budget. The philosophy is simple: income, expenses equals zero. At the start of each month, you assign every single dollar a job, bills, savings, spending, until there's nothing left. This forces you to be incredibly intentional and instantly reveals where you're overspending. But a standard budget isn't enough. You need a recession-proof budget. Here's the exercise: take your current budget and simulate a 25% pay cut. What goes? This is where your adjustability speed list comes in handy. The non-essential wants and high-speed cuts are the first on the chopping block. Having this bare-bones budget ready before a crisis hits removes panic from the equation. You already have a plan. You should also become your own data analyst and figure out your personal inflation rate. The national number is just an average. Are your costs for gas, rent, and groceries rising faster? Track your key spending categories for a few months. If your personal inflation is high, you need to adjust your budget and savings goals to keep up. Finally, a budget isn't a set it and forget it thing. It's a living document. Schedule a money date with yourself and your partner, if you have one, once a month. Review your spending, check your progress, and adjust. Celebrate the wins. This consistent check-in is what turns budgeting from a chore into a habit of financial control. Once your foundation is solid, emergency fund growing, high interest debt shrinking, budget in place, it's time to put your money to work for the long haul. For a lot of people, investing feels like gambling, especially when the market is volatile and headlines are screaming. But the single biggest mistake you can make is staying on the sidelines. A smart, long-term investment strategy is the only way to build wealth that actually outpaces inflation. The first rule of crisis-proof investing is diversification. In other words, don't put all your eggs in one basket. A balanced portfolio mixes different things, mostly stocks, equities, and bonds, fixed income, to help smooth out the ride. The goal is to have some assets that hold steady or even go up when others go down. During downturns, some sectors have historically held up better than others. We call these defensive sectors. Consumer staples are a classic example. People still need to buy toothpaste, toilet paper, and coffee, no matter what the economy is doing. Companies in this space often have very stable demand. Healthcare is another one. People can't really put off medical care, which makes drug companies and healthcare providers relatively stable. Utilities also tend to be resilient. We all keep paying for electricity, gas, and water, which gives these companies a steady, predictable income. Investing in companies that pay dividends is another smart move. Dividends are cash payments to shareholders. They can provide a stream of income even when stock prices are flat and can be reinvested to supercharge your growth. But whatever you do, do not try to time the market. It's a fool's errand. The most effective strategy for pretty much everyone is dollar cost averaging. This just means you invest a fixed amount of money on a regular schedule, say, $200 every month, no matter what. When prices are high, you buy fewer shares. When prices are low, like in a crisis, that same $200 buys more shares. It takes emotion out of the equation and automatically helps you buy low over time. For most people, the easiest way to do all of this, diversify and dollar cost average, is with low-cost index funds or ETFs. A broad market index fund might own a tiny piece of thousands of companies, giving you instant diversification. An ETF focused on a sector like consumer staples can give you targeted exposure to those recession-resistant industries. The most important thing is to keep a long-term perspective. The market will have bad years. Recessions are a normal part of the economic cycle. But historically, the market has always recovered and trended upward over the long run. By staying invested and continuing to contribute, you allow your money to weather the storms and reap the rewards of the eventual recovery. That's how real, lasting wealth is built. We've covered a ton of ground, moving from a place of financial fear to a clear, actionable blueprint for building an unshakable fortress around your money. It all comes down to a few key pillars. First, you do a fearless financial audit, know your net worth, track your spending, and face your debt. Second, you build your shield, that 3 to 6 month emergency fund in a high-yield savings account. Third, you go on offense, attacking high-interest debt to free up your cash in your future. Fourth, you take control with a budget, a real, intentional plan for your money that's been stress-tested for a downturn. And fifth, you build for the long term, investing consistently in a diversified portfolio, letting time and compounding do the heavy lifting. But information is useless without action. So here's your challenge: pick just one of these things and take the very first step. Today. Maybe that's opening the savings account. Maybe it's just listing your debts by interest rate. Maybe it's tracking your spending for the next 24 hours. The journey from financial fear to stability is a marathon, not a sprint. It's built on small, consistent choices. The headlines will always be crazy and the economy will always be uncertain. But your response to it is now in your control. You have the blueprint. You have the knowledge to go from being a passenger in your financial life to being the pilot. The peace of mind that comes from knowing you're prepared is priceless. Start with one brick. Today. You are on the path to becoming crisis-proof.